Morning, guys. Just want to take a second. I read an article this morning that I thought was pertinent to a couple questions I've been getting recently about is it a good time to buy a house? Is it a good time to sell a house? And I really wanted to address an issue that I'm really foreseeing coming for some people that are kind of fence sitting. They want to buy a house, but they're kind of like, well, what if the interest rates go down, sort of scenario. And I have some other folks who are like, well, should I sell my house now? Should I wait? Kind of what's the best option there? And understand that each of these scenarios are going to be different for each different individuals, kind of depending on what your goals are, kind of what your overarching goals are. If it's an investment property, if it's going to be your primary, if you have to sell a house in the middle, all of those dynamics are going to change whether it's a good time or a bad time to sell. So this is not a blanket. It really takes a lot of counsel to decide whether or not it's time to buy or sell. So each situation is going to be different, but this is going to be an overall look at the numbers, and I really want to address these numbers because I'm not sure how many people are seeing the numbers that I put out. I put them out pretty much every day on my blog. So if you're not getting those and you're kind of toying with the real estate market, you should be looking at those numbers. And I'm happy to send those to you if you're interested, or you can just go to my blog post. You'll see them pretty much every day. I try and update those every day. So the blog post I put out today it's talking about, why waiting for mortgage rates to drop may not be in your best interest. And I won't go over all the details of that, but we'll talk about some numbers. Today's total numbers are 3156, so 3,156 houses, and that number it dropped from yesterday. So there's less houses today on the market than there was yesterday, instead of going up. So if you're hearing, hey, there's houses are coming on the market every day, they're not. What's happening is that number is kind of wiggling like this. It's not a solid straight up number like you would normally see. Some of it, this is seasonal. So in other words, it's going to taper naturally, but this is a little bit of an unnatural downfall. And so I read another article today. It talked about how it's a 29% drop in housing sales. So you're definitely seeing the numbers fall. All numbers across the board typically are falling. So you're seeing lower interest rates. Today they went up just a tick. You're seeing the number of houses that are on the market is lower year over year for sure. You're seeing less house sales. You're seeing less buyers, and we're seeing less sellers. So we're seeing less of everything across the board. At least that's what I'm seeing in my market. So I break those numbers down because every market has a market within a market. So in other words, if you were to say, is the market good or bad? I would have to ask the question is, what market are you talking about? You're talking about the market from 600 and above, $1 million houses? Or are we talking about under $100,000 houses? What market are we talking about? Because all of those have a little market within the market, because the person that can afford $1 million house is probably not down here buying a $99,000 house, and the person buying a $99,000 house is not buying $1 million house. So those are two separate markets. So let's talk about those numbers for just a second, so that you can kind of get an understanding of what the market is really doing. And this is not going to be all encompassing. I don't want to put out a 30-minute video. I wanted to put out maybe a 10 to 15-minute video to kind of help you guys understand and kind of get you guys accustomed to this fact that you can go to my blog post and you can see these numbers real time. I try and do a blog post, and I try and update these numbers every day except for the weekend. So, and even sometimes on the weekends, I'll update them. So again, 3,156 houses as of today on the market. Above 600,000, so houses that are above 600,000, there's 576 in the Escambia, Santa Rosa County area. So between 500 and 600,000, you're seeing 181 houses. Now that number stayed the same from yesterday to today. Pretty much all the other numbers dropped. So 400 to 499, there's 383 houses. 300 to 399, there's 898 houses. and between 200 and 299, there is 809 houses. Between 100 and 199,000, it's 278 houses, and under 99,000, it went up, I think, by 2 houses. I think 2 more houses hit the market. Your interest rates both went up instead of down. So some of it's complicated. It's not as simple as just because the Fed rate dropped, it's going to drop mortgage rates. Mortgage rates, there's a lot of factors that happen, whether it's job numbers and all these other things that come in as to what the mortgage rates are actually going to fluctuate off of. So keep in mind, as we're talking about mortgage interest rates, your numbers are not going to be specifically tied to the main Fed rate. So like today, I think they were 6.23 on a 30-year fixed. And the 15-year fix is always going to be lower than that. The 15-year was like 5.63 or something, somewhere in that range. So because of that, your interest rates are low. And when I say they're low, I just mean if you look at the trend line of those mortgage rates, if you were to go back in time, you could have gotten a mortgage in the not too distant past at 2%, but if you go way back into the 70s, it would have been 14%. So we're kind of hovering right there in that middle range. That 6% is kind of right in that middle range. So keep in mind, as we're talking about interest rates, mortgage rates, long-term purchases, if you're talking about purchasing a house and you're concerned with a 6% interest rate, keep in mind, if the interest rates were to fall drastically, you can always refinance your mortgage. You can refinance that thing. But if you purchase a house and the cost of that house goes up before you have a chance to buy it, in other words, you sat on the fence and you waited for a lower interest rate, but the cost of the house went up because the number of houses is actually going down, like there's not more houses coming on the market, then what's going to happen to you is, because of supply and demand, that the housing cost very likely could go up. So if there's not enough houses to meet demand in your strata, so let's say, for instance, you're looking at that under 300,000, between $300,000 and $400,000 houses. Well, you've got in the Escambia, Santa Rosa County area, you've got 898 houses to choose from. But that number is less today than it was yesterday. So some houses fell off the market between yesterday and today. And so if that's the case, what's going to happen is if you've got a lot of people in that price range, those houses that are highly in demand, in other words, if they're good shape, ready to sell, good location, well, what's going to happen to that house is that value is going to go up instead of down. Like we're sitting here thinking, oh, the housing prices are going down. Some houses prices, I'm still seeing bidding wars on some houses. So you'll see 2 or 3 contracts come in on a house that sat on the market for, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and nobody was really interested in it. But then the houses that could get sold around it have sold, so that makes that property more in demand. And so keep in mind, sitting on the fence is not always advantageous to you, because if interest rates were to drastically drop between the time you purchase the house and 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months later, you can always refinance that. That can always be refinanced. And we just have to do the calculation to see when the break-even point is on refinancing. So again, I didn't want to do too deep of a dive here, but I wanted everyone to kind of see the fact that with the number of houses that we have sitting on the market right now, which is tapering, it's flatlining or tapering. It's not going up. I'm not seeing this huge inventory rack up yet. I do think there will be a point at which more inventory will come on board, but right now there's not enough houses to meet demand. So especially in those really tight brackets of between like 2 and 300,000 and between 3 and 400,000, and especially under 100,000. I mean, underneath 100,000 today, you only have 31 houses to choose from. And of those 31, a lot of those are not going to be a house that you would naturally choose. So again, if anybody out there has questions on these numbers, don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to sit down and chat with you, even if you're just curious, even if it's just a curiosity point for you about some of these numbers, or hey, I was just thinking about the real estate industry, I was just thinking about houses, and I've heard some stuff. How true is that in this local area? Well, I would love to chat it over with you. I appreciate everybody that's watched this video all the way to this point, and feel free to like and share this video with anybody that would be, maybe they're in the middle of purchasing a house, or they're in the middle of thinking about the process. Feel free to share this video. Again, I would love to just put this information out front of people. So I appreciate it. Thanks, and make it a great day.